Bonjour, Sego. My name is Nina Lakai. I'm a local resident, I'm an Aboriginal woman, and I'm a farmer. So I think I have lots of reasons to be here. And unfortunately, what I came to say, I don't know that you can answer for me. I was wanting to have a voice so the councillors would hear. So it's pretty interesting that they left. Because I don't have confidence that we'll be able to have a voice with them at the meeting across the road in the next little while. And as a steward of the land, as an Aboriginal woman and as a farmer, there's also a legal issue, and I want to ask about the duty to consult meaningful consultation with Aboriginal First Nations. To my knowledge, and I've spoken to many of the chiefs in and around Georgian Bay, that none of them recall a meaningful consultation, and I don't mean just a letter sent out 20 years ago, about the impacts, the environmental impacts of Site 41, and that we have asked for a moratorium as well, so that those environmental impacts can be consulted with the First Nations representation. And I have yet to hear an answer on that, and so I'm wondering if we'll have a voice at the county, or if someone here can speak to that.
I can only speak to the portion of that I'm aware of. Is that I do understand that Beausoleil First Nation was granted party status to the joint board hearing. So they were a party to the joint board hearing.
And I don't believe that they were a part of that board meeting, nor was there meaningful consultation. The regulation says meaningful consultation, and I think that there needs to be extraordinary measures taken to engage First Nations people, not only Beausoleil First Nation. There are more First Nations in and around Georgian Bay who need to have been consulted, and within this region.
I understand. I can only explain to what I understand. So would you please pass
that message on to the councillors, that I'd like them to consider that, and also that I think there are probably 3 times as many people outside of here, and that somehow the forum needs to be changed. We really like the outdoors, to be able to accommodate the people who want to be here, to have a voice in what's being discussed. You're right.
Let me ask the question that flows from the question you just asked, which is, are people here interested in a process that continues the conversation?
Of course.
We want the councillors to hear. Places at once.
Yeah.
And the councillors who make the decision need to hear.
Understood. Okay, you've got a question, sir.
My name is James Gilmore. I live half my time in Muskoka and worked on a proposal for a new landfill site up there from the point of view of the environment. And then I purchased a property in Saga Beach, so I'm a landowner in both places. But I have studied for about 8 years other options than landfill. I just wanted to comment that our conclusion in Muskoka, because our liner is the earth, we have stone, we have the Precambrian shield, and a very dangerous place for landfill. And looking around the county, I checked and I felt that if the Ministry of the Environment could only come to bat and organize waste to energy like Brampton, like Peel, and we could all put our dump stuff in there except the 30% we have to discard as ash. So that's my plea. A plea that we have is that this could be a solution. And the other thing is, in the construction of this, I read the details of the construction. I don't see a provision for the disposal of the methane. In landfills that I've studied in other places in Florida, there is a provision to dispose of the methane, a very elaborate system right across the road from where I had a condominium.
So there's 2 questions then. Yeah. One is to the Ministry of the Environment.
Yeah. Will you please try to get the municipalities coordinated in such a way, you're delegating it out to the, as I understand it, it's to the various municipalities. It has to come under the, I think, under the Ministry of the Environment. It has to get in there. And the other technical question is the question of the methane, handling of the methane, which is rather important, hasn't been mentioned. And finally, if things cannot be settled, I think a forensic investigation should be taken.
Can I?
Variety of options. Landfilling is one of them, and energy from waste facilities is another one. So municipalities are entitled to propose energy from waste facility in Ontario. There are specific rules and regulations in place for them, just like there are for landfill sites. So they're able to do that. The ministry does not direct individual municipalities to do one or the other. It is their choice, but take note of your comment and let the people that I work for at the Ministry of Environment know what your comment was. I think that was the first part of the question. And
I'm looking for anything that.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I might deal with the methane. We're actually looking at some very alternative methods at some of our other sites to deal with methane. Turning the sites into bioreactors may be something that we look in the future. I'm not planning that at this point for Site 41. I will say there's new regulation at this point that provide, well, funding in some ways, but a requirement in others with sites that I believe it's over 2 million cubes or 2 million cubes. There's a regulation to do a collection of the methane. That may be something that we want to look at doing with the site when it's up and operating, do some collection. That will require new approvals through the ministry, but that's something that I would hope the CMC wants to take under consideration. We at the county certainly are already considering it for some of our other sites to do the actual capture of the methane so that we can either flare it, which reduces the greenhouse gas input, or run reciprocating engines to provide power from it. The problem right now with those methane, and a lot of landfills have done them, but for the most part they're significantly bigger than the landfill sites that we have. There's a real cost-benefit analysis that would go into it, and the size of sites that we have at this point wouldn't make it economically feasible. Not to say that it wouldn't be done, but it's not economically feasible. However, carbon trading systems may be coming in that change that dynamic, and we're watching that very closely.
Good morning. Site 41 was turned down as a result of the original environmental assessment. On what grounds did the David Peterson government overturn this decision? I'm just asking this question on behalf of somebody else. Thank you.
That's before my time, but I can tell you what I've been told on it, sir. Is that the original joint board decision turned down the site for reasons of process, not because it wasn't suitable for a landfill site, but essentially they hadn't done enough comparisons or compared enough sites or enough parameters to do that. My understanding is that at that time the appeal process was to the cabinet, and the cabinet basically reopened it and allowed the North Simcoe Waste Management Association, or the county at that time, to go back, refill the process issues that were deficient to determine if Site 41 was still the right site or some of the others that were compared. And through that process, Site 41 came out to be the right site. Okay.